Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Early Monday morning, some massive news for this Ole Miss program coming out of the recruiting trail as four-star defensive lineman Andrew Maddox committing to Ole Miss. And there's two things that I want to start with before we even get into Andrew Maddox, who I've been very vocal I am a massive fan of in this 2025 class. And the first thing is we've talked extensively about how Ole Miss continues to close the gap in the SEC. And I think we all agreed that Lane Kiffin said it best. We need more guys along the lines of scrimmage that look like what Georgia and Alabama have. Andrew Maddox certainly satisfies what you're looking for along the line of scrimmage. And I think secondly, and something that not a lot of people are going to talk about regarding this Ole Miss program across the country, and that is they're recruiting the high school ranks exceptionally well. And I think a lot of the conversation goes to what Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss have done in the transfer portal, which I've been very vocal, has been extremely impressive. We've broken down almost every single transfer portal commitment to Ole Miss, but they're also supplementing that with exceptional recruiting at the high school ranks. And you look at the modern era of college football, how you want to build a roster, you want to have both funnels working right. And I think Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss certainly have that going, doing a phenomenal job in the portal, but also doing a really good job recruiting the high school ranks as well. And I think that the result is what we see heading into 2024, and that is one of the most dangerous, talented teams that we see in the 2024 season. Fired up to get into Andrew Maddox. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys. And to the Ole Miss fans, it's no secret that we've had a blast talking this program on the recruiting trail, in the transfer portal, and the amount of support y'all have continued to show to the boys in the comments section. That stuff, it means the world to the fellas. Can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into Andrew Maddox. I think first things first is that last name, obviously very familiar with Ole Miss fans. His older brother, AJ, committed to Ole Miss in the 2024 class, and man, you get into Andrew Maddox, and a couple of things that I want to note before we get into the film is, one, his get-off the line of scrimmage is absolutely incredible. It's probably one of the best get-offs that I've seen in this 2025 cycle. And then when you start taking into account he's 6'3", 270 pounds, this is a defensive lineman that can win in so many different ways. You put him on the inside of the defensive line, he challenges interior offensive linemen with the quick twitch and the get off that he has. You put him on the edge, and the power that this kid has in his hands to just go right through offensive tackles, it is certainly there as well. And when you start combining all the different ways that he can be a difference maker for this Ole Miss defensive line, that I think is what excites you the most. And then you look at the versatility that he has. This is a guy that you'll see him play the nose, you'll see him play the three, you'll see him play as an edge rusher. And you look at Pete Golden and the versatility that he wants his defensive lineman to have. Andrew Maddox just seemingly fits right in terms of what Pete Golden is looking for in his defensive lineman. You get into the film and just say this kid's a game wrecker. And he's a game wrecker from a multitude of different spots on the defensive line. I think the first thing you want to see is this get off. I mean, if you just kind of freeze frame it here, Andrew Maddox he's getting off the line of scrimmage before anybody else on this defensive line, getting into the backfield, making plays for losses. That's what you're looking for. And again, you're going to see him move all along the defensive line, working here as a nose, and you kind of just see the power that he has in his hands. I mean, we're just going to walk this center right into the backfield, get off the block, make the play behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, when you have that ability to work on the inside, now we're going to see what he can do on the outside as well. The get off from this kid. And I think there's an element of just being really good at anticipating the snap. But I mean, he is off the line of scrimmage before this right tackle can even start pulling around. Completely disrupts the play. You see the athleticism to run the line of scrimmage and go make plays at the line. Again, working at that three tech here, phenomenal get off, getting that guard before he even has the opportunity to pull around to the play side, and then going and making a play behind the line of scrimmage. This kid is a game wrecker, but I think most importantly, he's a game wrecker from so many different spots on the defensive line. The get-off continues to absolutely amaze me. Power in his hands, getting behind the line of scrimmage, running the line of scrimmage, which is another thing to note is you look at some of those bigger defensive linemen we see in college football, they really struggle to move laterally. Andrew Maddox certainly does not struggle in that department. I think he can be an elite guy when it comes to stopping the run, creating those tackles for loss. But then when it is those third and long situations, this is a kid that can pin his ears back and get after the quarterback as well. And you take a look at what Ole Miss is doing in the 2025 cycle, it is kind of headlined by two of the best players in the country in Jerome Miles and Ackland Deer, one top 5 wide receiver in the class, Ackland Deer being the number 1 running back in the 2025 cycle. But then you start scrolling down and saying, hey, we're doing a really good job on the defensive side of the football as well. We talked about Keon Young as just being this ball hawking safety that just continues to make those game-changing plays. You look at a guy in Talib Graham, who I think is going to be an excellent edge rusher for Ole Miss, also a guy that can be a factor in the run game. We know Lane Kiffin is going to be able to get the talent on the offensive side of the football, but to see him landing commitments like Andrew Maddox out of the high school ranks, that's how Ole Miss kind of gets to that next level, recruiting the guys and kind of winning some of these recruiting battles against Alabama and Georgia for the premier front 7 defenders on the defensive side of the football. That's how we close the gap. We're seeing Ole Miss close the gap as we speak. Another massive commitment for Lane Kiffin, this Ole Miss program. We'll cut it there. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. Very, very exciting get for Ole Miss. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.